Do you see the difference? So that's what we want to do. We want these convictions that we have chosen ourselves. Unfortunately for mankind right now, 99% of the convictions that they have are the wrong ones, the ones that aren't serving them. That's why there's so much internal conflict, internal dilemma that you have. You want to do one thing, but you can't do the next because you just don't know how to consciously change your own patterns, okay? So there's two different types. We have the self-view, the identity that we have, how we view ourselves, and the worldview that we have, how we perceive the world around us, which is called your paradigm, okay? So to give you an example of this, your paradigm is something that's, you may believe it's the right time to start a business or it's the wrong time to start a business. You're viewing the world as a great place to be in or a bad place to be in. It's kind of like, people who are more religious, they talk about it as their God view, How you view God. Is God benevolent and merciful? Is God loving or is God punishing? Is the world punishing? Is the universe punishing? Is the universe unfair and unjust and cruel? That is your paradigm, okay? So there's different perceptions that we have about different things in our worlds, which have different levels, different subcomponents to this paradigm. But this is what I want you to know. There is views that we have that we hold to be true about ourselves, and there's views that we hold to be true about our worlds. The mission here for us is to consciously choose them, consciously choose and program these convictions. Because once we learn to do that, we get to experience what we want in our lives. And this was especially true for me when I started making these videos and when I started doing my business. Before I started, I had no idea, what I wanted to do, first of all, and I didn't believe I was capable enough. But then once I started to follow the self-reprogramming cycle, I started to become a different person. I started to view myself differently. You can even go back 3 years ago, 4 years ago when I first started the channel, and you can see how I've evolved differently, how the manner in which I speak, how it's evolved. It's all done so because I followed this cycle consciously, okay? So that's what I want you to know. We have two different convictions. Another important point to remember is whenever we shift our identity, okay, our sense of self-view, and we shift our paradigm, we don't ditch our old identity and our old paradigm. We encapsulate it in the new identity and the new paradigm that we have. So if you imagine concentric circles, right? If a smaller circle is how I view myself now, if I have to change my worldview, I have to incorporate this old self that I had and the old paradigm that I had into the new paradigm and the new worldview. You don't just get rid of it, okay? I learned this from a great book by, I believe it was Jim Collins, about leadership. And he talks about how when you become a different level of leader, you don't just ditch the old level of leader that you were. You've got to use that old level to be able to rise up to the new level. So I used to mistakenly believe that whenever I shifted my identity or when I shifted my worldview, I have to kill my old self and I have to kill my old worldview. No, you must learn to incorporate it. There has to be harmony. Okay, so without further delay, let's go right into this self-reprogramming cycle and see exactly how our thoughts evolve to the level of conviction and how we can use it to change both ourself and our worldviews. So it first starts off with a thought, but let's start off with the thought of Quasi is a bad video maker, or Quasi is a bad salesperson, or anything. Someone says that to me, and at first when I received that idea, right? Every single conviction begins as an idea or as an incoming thought. It is my choice now how I respond or react to it. Interestingly, when you have a thought and you have a feeling towards it, it actually starts to become sticky. So a thought combined with a feeling, when someone tells me I'm a bad video maker and I get offended and I take it personally, I start to believe it. When I react to it and I give it emotion, I give it the power of my feeling, I actually begin to make it a part of myself. It starts to become a story, right? Because as human beings, we're feeling creatures. We get addicted to our feelings. So thought combined with a feeling makes a belief. Quasi is a bad video maker. Uh-oh, I hope this isn't true. Oh no, is this really true? Then subconsciously, I start to look at ways in which this could be true. oh, look at all of these bad comments. When I start to believe it, something very, very interesting happens. There's this thing in your subconscious mind called the reticular activating system, your RAS. When you start to believe something, your RAS gets pre-programmed with that belief, and it becomes like a lens, like a filtering lens. You only look for anything that would support that. It's kind of like your subconscious mind is kind of like Google search. You know when you're paranoid about something and you keep searching it on Google, Google only shows you stuff to confirm your paranoia. It only shows you proof that, whatever you believe is actually true. So this is how reality works. It's very moldable. This is the mirror principle of reality. Whatever we're looking for, we will find. If you're looking for ways in which you're a bad video maker, you will find it. If you're looking for ways in which you've broken the law and you're a criminal and the government can prosecute you, then you will find those too, right? So everyone has done something in the eyes of the government that someone can catch and punish you for. Everyone's been a bad video maker, or everyone in a certain way has done everything. Whatever you're looking for, you will find, okay? This belief programs this thing in our subconscious mind called the RAS, reticular activating system. When the reticular activating system gets programmed, we look for confirmation of our belief. Now, when we find enough confirmation, this belief gets stronger and stronger until it evolves to the level of conviction. Once it's become a conviction, we're stuck in a hypnotic trance. We have certain desires and we have certain convictions. When there's an incongruency between our desire and our conviction, we experience an undesired reality. We're living a life that's painful, that's a complete negative feedback loop. We keep staying stuck in it. So to give you an example of this, I began with the thought of someone said Kwazi's a bad video maker. It confirmed my suspicions. It made me fearful. That feeling of fear then turned this into a belief where I started to look for more of it to confirm that story. Remember, we're feeling creatures. We're just looking for something to feel. We just want to feel something, because when we feel something, the ego feels alive. If instead we were just neutral to it and we didn't feel it, it wouldn't stick to us, right? This is the power of acceptance. That's why people love gossip so much. People love to complain about something so much. You go on social media, everyone's got an opinion. People love to hear polarizing opinions and thoughts and feelings, and it really has no meaning to it, but people just love it because it's entertainment. We want to be entertained. That's why we came into this world. But why not get entertained by the things that we choose to get entertained by, rather than unconsciously in a way that makes us live a life that we don't want to live, right? So then this thought of being a bad video maker evolves into the level of belief, to the point where my RAS gets programmed. And when that happens, I look for that one comment in every single video where which confirms a comment that someone said that confirms that I'm a bad video maker. And I will ignore every single good comment in there. It is that crazy. I ignore 10 good comments and I only focus on the one bad comment because of my insecurity that's been developed by the thought and feeling that I've been entertaining. And over time, if you're not careful enough, if you're not observant enough, if you can't interrupt that stimulus response pattern, you can't center your attention, you become a slave to your environment. This is the cause of mankind's suffering, not being able to do this consciously. So now let's talk about how you can consciously interrupt this pattern and begin to reprogram your subconscious mind. After having worked with over 1,000 clients, there's always one thing that I hear from every single client that's transformed their lives, right? One main practice that they've used, and it's this one, right? So let's get to the 2 keys that'll allow you to manipulate this mechanism and use it for yourself. So remember, we talked about thoughts, feelings, beliefs, convictions, RAS, and confirmation. Out of this, let's begin with the initial stimulus. There's an incoming thought. Whenever a thought comes in, we have the choice of whether or not we want to resist this thought or just accept this thought as just a thought and see it for what it is instead of reacting to it. So if someone says, I'm a bad video maker, I can choose to resist and be like, no, I'm not. And by the way, when I do that, I'm already believing it. Because if it weren't true, I wouldn't need to fight it. I would just be like, yeah, that's your opinion and that's great. I won't be able to please everyone. If I'm neutral to it, it doesn't affect me. So an incoming thought becomes an outgoing thought when I attach a feeling to it. So if you simply observe and accept incoming thoughts, they have no power over you. They're just simply data. You don't have to entertain every single data that you get. But there are other data that you get, other comments on your video that say you are a good video maker. And you can choose to entertain those. Do you see what I mean? We don't come up with any organic thought. There is no such thing. It's just data. It's just things we hear and see all around us. We can choose to see which one we want to make sticky. So key number 1, choose the thoughts that you want to entertain. Begin with a desired thought. Choose the outgoing thought. So if we begin with a desired thought of, I'm a great salesperson, I'm a good salesman, even though you might not be. Now we can begin to visualize what it looks like to be a good salesperson. We can begin to look at instances where we did 1 or 2 good things that correspond to that thought of I'm a good salesperson.